Great place to have a balance of one and one out.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the commission meeting, August 21st. Y'all to join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Man, that sounds good in the crowd. Yeah, okay, so we approved the minutes from the August 7th meeting.
You make a motion to approve the minutes from August the 7th as submitted.
I second that.
Any other discussion? If not, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And approve accounts payable vouchers.
I make a motion, we approve the accounts payable vouchers as submitted.
Second that motion.
If no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And our payroll docket.
Make a motion to approve payroll docket as submitted.
I second that.
No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
First up, tonight we have our LifeSpring and Bethany Legacy Foundation LifeSpring Health System Community Health Needs Assessment.
The longest title.
That's good.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. My name is Dora and I'm the CEO of Bethany Legacy Foundation, and I'm here with a couple of my board members. And we are the health foundation serving Jefferson County, and our focus is to ensure that there's health and wellness for all. And we know that we do not currently have health and wellness for all. Mental health and substance use is one of the biggest problems in Jefferson County. It is a painful mark on our county that affects nearly every family in so many ways, through lives lost and broken families. And so we have a sense of urgency about this, and we know that you do too. We were here presenting to you a few months ago on this topic, and we're here today to continue to propose a solution that involves an organization that has a really strong track record of providing this kind of comprehensive treatment that we need. LifeSpring Health Systems. We know that you trust them too, because you entered into a MOU, a memorandum of understanding with them several months ago since we last met. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Beth Keeney, who is the CEO of LifeSpring. She's going to share the next steps in this process of building a treatment facility in Jefferson County. And ultimately, we are here to ask for your continued support through the opioid settlement funds and other support that you've provided. So I'd like to introduce Beth Keeney, CEO of LifeSpring, and Lauren Pearman with LifeSpring as well.
Thank you. It's so great to be back with you all today, and I'm really excited to share the outcomes of our community needs assessment with you. And actually, I have extra copies. I see a couple of you have them, but I'll just start those this way. So our community needs assessment was prepared and gathered by Dr. Faye Saad, who is our population health director. She is an epidemiologist by training and practice. And so she has spent some time putting together the community needs assessment for Jefferson County. And I want to give you just a couple of highlights. So just to kind of refresh your memory, LifeSpring is a health system that serves 11 counties. Jefferson County is our easternmost county, and we go all the way to Spencer County, and then all the way up to Scott County being our northernmost county. We see about 20,000 patients a year, and over the years, our model has evolved from being just mental health or just substance use or just both of those to also include comprehensive primary care as well as a comprehensive crisis continuum. So with that in mind, Dr. Saad gets into the community needs assessment. She talks about the purpose of it and then the methodology. And she does make note that there are some limitations to the data. Specifically, overdose statistics are low. And because of the low counts, that makes it what we call unstable. So if you only have 1 or 2 overdoses in a county, you can't extract that information and apply it to the entire population until you have a higher number. So she just notes the instability of some of the overdose statistics. And she also notes that the survey responses, we looked at what the patient feedback for the patients that we see from Jefferson County. We didn't do a random sampling. We just took some of those out. We didn't use a formal methodology to do that. And that matters probably to nobody except for us research geeks. I just like to point out what some of the data limitations are. But Dr. Stott does note, poverty and food insecurity remain a persistent challenge, with 12.1% of residents in Jefferson County living below the poverty line and 14% experiencing food insecurity. She also notes that poor mental health days, and I'm just kind of gonna go through this very quickly. She also notes that poor mental health days are higher in Jefferson County than the state. And she talks about some of the things that LifeSpring has implemented in terms of being able to respond to mental health crisis here in Jefferson County, and talks about some of the data associated with that. One thing that she does note is high rates of methamphetamine and opioid use disorder. And what we are seeing in practice, and Lauren is, she's one of our executive clinicians, but a licensed clinical social worker specializing in substance use disorder by training. And so she can answer any of these, any questions that you may have around this. But what we're seeing, especially with opioid use and methamphetamine use, is really high rates of fentanyl being introduced into the substance, which is really dramatically increases the lethality of the situation. So we're seeing folks who maybe they think that they're injecting a little bit of methamphetamine and they actually have a pretty high dose of fentanyl involved. And then we're seeing across our health system overdose fatality associated with that. And this risk is linked to a higher risk of death as well as hospitalization. We are seeing growth in adolescent substance use, and she notes some specific information from the state, which incorporates data collected from youth in Jefferson County. And the suicide rate in Jefferson County is also higher than state and national averages. General health outcomes, the health indicators across Jefferson County remain below state and national benchmarks. Smoking rate is higher, obesity rate is higher, preventable hospitalizations is higher. So based on the available data, LifeSpring's recommendation really identifies 4 priority health needs in Jefferson County. The first would be the establishment of a community health center or federally qualified health center. And as we talked the last time that I was here, what you do inside of an FQHC is provide comprehensive behavioral health as well as primary care, regardless of the ability to pay. Also, as important is the development of a crisis stabilization unit or a crisis receiving and stabilization service, which I'm gonna ask Lauren to talk about in just a moment. The one thing I will say is having that combined really provides an incredible opportunity to get folks stabilized over a short term and then figure out what's their next step. This is data that we have collected that has been validated. We do hear, however, in the community that despite what the data says and despite what the model is for care right now in our field, that there is still a desire for some to have a residential program. We think it's important to keep that flexibility in our model so that if we get into it and the data changes, that we have the ability to flex up to a residential program if that's necessary. But again, starting with an outpatient behavioral health and primary care service with the ability to do 24-hour crisis stabilization and flex up to residential beds if needed. Dr. Stott also notes expansion of youth-focused prevention and early intervention programs, and then working on transportation. So I'm going to stop talking and ask Lauren to talk for just a minute about what crisis stabilization is and why it's really important to have in a region.
Crisis stabilization is a program that we've operated at LifeSpring since 2023 in Jeffersonville. We started it out of grant funding in order to kind of pilot crisis stabilization. Indiana, it's new to Indiana. We were one of the first agencies throughout the state to operate this type of facility. And the intention of it is to provide 24/7 low barrier access to someone who is experiencing a mental health or SUD-related crisis. So people can come in and they'll meet with a peer recovery coach. That peer will assess for their primary, most presenting acute urgent needs in that moment. And they will also meet with a therapist who will assess for safety, because the reality is sometimes the hospital is still the right place for people to go. Jail sometimes is still the right place for people to go. And so we have a therapist assess their needs, assess for safety, assess for suicidality, homicidality, anything that might make them unsafe to be in that environment where we can't keep them or our staff safe. So once they've been cleared for safety, then we admit them into that program, do that full needs assessment, and they're able to take a shower, have something to eat, sleep. The majority of the people that come in, most of what they do is sleep, rest. And the best part about it is that it really just slows down the time clock on decision making. There's a lot of pressure on people when they're actively using substances or if they're experiencing some sort of mental health crisis to go into treatment. And we know that treatment works, but treatment works if you're ready for it. And having this unit allows people to just kind of press pause, get their basic needs met, get some rest, and be able to make informed decisions for themselves where they don't have to make it right that second. If they've got family or they've got a criminal justice partner saying, this is what you need to do, this is a safe space where there's trained professionals that are there to help them, monitor them, and provide recommendations for them, rather than everybody just saying, go into treatment for 30 days. We know that that doesn't work. Treatment for 30 days absolutely works for some people. Treatment for 3 days works for some people. Treatment in, for 6 months, being away from your home environment works for some people. But we don't know what they need until we've had time to assess them and they've had time to think through what they're actually able to do. So that's the main goal of the crisis receiving and stabilization services, is to just have a safe space to be while we figure out what the next steps are.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, a good majority of those individuals do decide to come into a residential program. And so that may not be with us, that may be with Centerstone, it may be with Woody Glen, or it may be with another one of our community partners. What the team tries to do is figure out what are you willing to do? What are your limitations? How can we maybe help you reduce some of those? And then how can we get you to where you're going to be comfortable? So again, this is our recommendation based on the data. I think that this is a really strong plan because it gives us the ability to flex up or flex down based on the needs of the community or if things change. And so happy to answer any questions.
But out there too, if you.
Will this put more therapists into the community to needs? I know sometimes it's hard for people to get in to get seen and staffing and things like that. So is this gonna help with that as well?
The helpful thing about the crisis model is that you can bring in telehealth clinicians. So while if we're not able to get people on site, they can be assessed clinically because we have other staff members who are trained to help the person there. The peer professionals really do the hands-on on-site stuff while the clinician can still assess, make recommendations, and then they work together to kind of get them what they need.
And I'll just say, just a note about access, because you mentioned access. We've done a lot in the last few years around access, including implementing open access hours at all of our locations where you can effectively walk in and become a new patient. And so that schedule is on our website, lifespringhealthsystems.org. You can always see at what time can I walk into the Bear Street office and get access to care. You can also fill out paperwork online. You can access our mobile crisis team 24 hours a day, and they can help you get set up for that first appointment. So lots of options for access that didn't exist 5 years ago.
Surely Jim's gonna say something back there. You haven't.
No, I'm impressed. I do have some questions, but I'll reserve them at this time. I am, as you know, always wanting to back that residential treatment center because I feel like after you get through the crisis intervention, where do they go from there? If they still need continued treatment after they come out of the jail and the jail pod, the substance abuse pod, where do they go from there? If they still have substance abuse treatment needs. So, you know, I've been in favor of a residential treatment center for day one. That's my background, that's my experience, so I will always be promoting that, and apparently, just when I think I'm out, I'm called back in. So, I'm excited about the opportunities for Jefferson County and, substance abuse treatment. I'm so thankful for Live Spring and, Dora. And, I just hope we do big things and provide a lot of treatment, needed treatment for those people in Jefferson County that really, really need it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just in conclusion, we like the data-driven approach because then we can build on that with a strong foundation, and the flex up and down option allows us to phase it. So once we get started and we realize that the residential piece is a big deal, we can flex to that, and that's why we like LifeSpring as a partner. Bethany Legacy Foundation is all in. As I mentioned, I'm here with board and staff members. We are so committed that we are also exploring several land options to ensure that this happens. So we're committed to providing that land so that they can build this facility. So we're all in, and so we're here asking that you join us in that support in providing some settlement dollars and eventually ongoing support. So, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your hard work. Oh, Reed McIntyre?
Hold on. We can walk after you.
Oh, yeah.
I had this. There it goes.
Turn on gun smoke.
I'll try to.
I'm sliding to mess you up. You might wanna watch this. That'd be good.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Oh, yeah. Good. All right, guys, tonight we're here with Reed McIntyre from United Consulting, John San Giorgio over there, and then of course you guys know Bob. It's Bob. So,
The original Bad Bob.
oh, yeah, yeah. So Reed's here tonight. He's gonna present our bridge health of Jefferson County and kind of give us a rundown on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and open the book here to page 1 of 108 bridges. So you guys ready? No, but this is our book, 108 pages per 108 bridges. Yeah, so it's got everything in there, all the information that we need. And Reed's gonna take it from here and kind of go over it and give us an explanation of our bridges around here. So after you, sir.
Jason.
Take that back.
Yeah, like Jason said, I'm Reed and that's Bob. He said, you know, Bob's kind of annoying, but keep it around. Be like Bob.
You're around, see the time already.
I'm here to discuss your bridge inventory. So thanks for giving me your time. A little bit about it. Last November, me and my team of inspectors, we were fortunate enough to spend some time in the county doing one of our favorite things, inspecting bridges. All right. A little bit about inspecting bridges. It's federally mandated by FHWA, the Federal Highway Administration, that all of the locally or all publicly owned structures of 20 feet or longer in length are inspected on at least a 2-year cycle. Since it's federally funded, the county is reimbursed for 80% of those inspection contract costs of, like what Jason said, is 108 total county-owned structures. We also inspect bridges in towns like Madison. Jefferson County is currently fully compliant with NDOT and FHWA standards. That's great. Everyone needs to keep up the good work and just keep them off our backs, right? As part of the inspection contract, we've documented all the inspections in a printed inspection report. That's that big binder that Jason's holding back there. And we have also made those available on a digital flash drive that you were all handed out earlier. It's called our interactive report. A little bit more on that later. But each bridge has its own inspection report, including structure data, condition ratings, and several photos. There are also a lot of tables in the front end of that report that summarize a lot of the inventory data. And one of those tables is our maintenance checklist right here. That maintenance checklist can be a really good tool to use when you're planning small projects for the highway crew throughout the year. I've talked to Jason about this before. But it's just common items at several different structures that you can make a list of a few different bridges to go to, fix it up, knock it off the list, right? So that interactive report on those flash drives that were handed out, make it really easy to navigate the report. All you gotta do is find your bridge on the map, click on the bridge, and boom, you're right to the report. And now is when I get to brag just a little bit on the state of your bridge inventory. So what I've done here is gathered some of the inventory stats and compared it to some statewide county data. It's the same data that were on those flyers that went around earlier. 3 ideal stats is what I've highlighted here. The load posted bridges, only 3.7%. Real quick, thanks to Jason and his team at the highway garage. Whenever a load posting thing comes up, NDOT jumps on us, so we have to jump on it before that becomes an issue. Jason helped us tidy that up earlier this year real quick. So thank you, Jason. Bridges greater than 50 years old. That is a good indicator to me that your inventory is in pretty good long-term health. You can see it's only 20% of your bridges are older than 50 years. I think that means through programming and preventative maintenance that for the long term, your inventory is in good hands. And then the last one, increased frequency inspections. John wanted me to point this one out. The 0.9%, that represents only one of your bridges in your whole inventory. There are a lot of counties out there that have a really long list of increased frequency inspections, 30, 40 bridges. That just means those need to be paid to be inspected once a year instead of every 2 years, right? So you save a lot of money when you keep that number low. That one bridge is, the design is finished. It's supposed to let in October. So once that's replaced, it'll be off the list and we should be at a nice 0%. Yeah. So looking forward to that. I mentioned our priority list there. Over here, we've got our structures that we recommended for replacement. Like I said, that Bridge 107 at the top, already fully designed, ready to let in October. It'll get knocked off. And down here, we have our rehabilitation list, 171, 172, and 173. They're all in a row down there on Clifty Hollow Drive, I think. And those are under design now, scheduled to let in 2027. So the programming is going great. Yeah, no notes there. So again, just thank you for letting me share a little bit about your inventory. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or John or Bob if you really want to. That's it for me.
No respect, no respect.
Thanks so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. They made a movie about, what about Bob, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, let's kill Bob.
Oh.
Kill Bob 2 or something.
Okay. And next up is our UDO ordinance amendment. Barrel. Ordinance.
No, good.
Read this one for the second time. Ordinance number 2025-05, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of Jefferson County. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Jefferson County is advised that the Jefferson County Plan Commission has held a public hearing following the giving of required notice on an amendment to the zoning ordinance, and whereas the commission has given a favorable recommendation for the amendment to the zoning ordinance, and whereas this board concurs in the recommendation of said commission, now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners of Jefferson County, State of Indiana, that the Jefferson County zoning ordinance shall be amended to wit: attachment, winery, brewery, distillery, and barrel warehouse amendments. The foregoing ordinance was passed and adopted by the Board of Commissioners. Resolution recommending amendment to zoning ordinance. Whereas notice was given in accordance with Indiana Code Section 5-3-1, 36-7-4, 500, and 36-7-4-600. In sequence, that the Plan Commission of Jefferson County, Indiana, would conduct a public hearing on a proposal to recommend an amendment to the zoning ordinance for Jefferson County, Indiana. Whereas the public hearing was held on June 10th, 2025 and July 1st, 2025, following the giving of required notice with opportunity for all interested persons to offer evidence and present their views to this commission. And whereas the Plan Commission heard evidence concerning the proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance and approves of the same. Now therefore be it resolved by the Plan Commission of Jefferson County, State of Indiana, that the following be forwarded to the Board of Commissioners of Jefferson County with a favorable recommendation to amend the zoning ordinance of Jefferson County, Indiana, to wit, attachment winery, brewery, distillery, and barrel warehouse amendment. Yeah. Now. To. Yes, forward. First reading, but we need some. Little update explanation. I think Warren. Happy to. Give a little.
Thank you. Warren Offshore, I'm president of the planning commission, and I'd watched your last meeting. I was not here. I didn't realize there was some confusion. I probably could have helped that evening. There was discussion and so forth that the UDO copy that had been online was not totally up to date, or there had been changes made. And actually, we saw them, there hasn't been changes made from the version that the planning commission passed as such. We found that, I guess for lack of a better term, there were Scribner's errors, or there were corrections on how it was written. And there were two areas. One had been caught internally at the planning commission that dealt with the acreage that would be accounted towards being taken out of production. And we'd set a cap countywide 4,000, and the way it was written, it was basically counting only what was in the fenced-in area of the solar panels. At the time we discussed it, when we reviewed it, it was our understanding was to be written in such a way that it was all acreage that had been taken out of crop production as such, and we'd made that change. And then later it was also brought to our attention by an outside party that when we required the material safety data sheets for the solar panels, it was to have been that they would be submitted with the building application for the building permit application, not with the initial application for the solar field. And it had been written incorrectly in that. So we corrected those two Scribner errors. And the night that you were discussing it, the commissioners had a totally up-to-date copy in their possession, but I don't think the one that was online had been changed. But yet there was not going to be a vote or discussion that evening, and there was going to be ample opportunity for people to see it online and then discuss whenever you all see fit for that. Any questions on any of that? But they weren't changes, they were corrections or Scribner errors, whatever you refer to those on a legal basis.
And then I did have a request to amend putting the word pasture land in, we spoke about a while ago, so. Is that, Dave, Bobby?
That was on C about
Yeah.
the explanation of the 4,000 acres, so I guess it would be. Cause it specified. Croplands, right? Taken out of production. So would it be added croplands and pasture acreage?
I think it refers to tillable lands and adding district pasture is what I'm proposing. So an amendment would be, what you'd be doing is you'd be sending it back to the plan commission with a recommendation for the amendment, because anything that goes through changes of the zoning has to go through public hearing. And then the, the plan commission would hold public hearing just on that change. And then would either send it back with a favorable or unfavorable recommendation.
But I think you actually said it in one meeting, didn't you, about mentioned reference to pasture land?
There had been discussion, I don't remember clearly on that, but I know it was brought up. You know, it would just be something we'd have to, you all decide that you want to amend it for or ask it to be reconsidered, the planning commission could look at that one issue. Or whatever issues that you bring out.
Yes, after that, any amendment that you send back.
Along with that, I would like to see the setbacks changed. I know at one time it was talk of 1,000, which I thought that would be pretty fair to the adjacent property owner for noise, glare, traffic and all that, so is that a possibility we could extend that maybe to 650 or something like that to that way we could talk about both of them when we do it, if it's in agreement with you two, but that way both sides can get usage of their ground and not have issues later on, hopefully.
Can I make a comment on that one? One of the planning commission members, if I recall correctly, and you guys could go back and look at it. I think had done some mapping of the parcels within Jefferson County, and the setbacks are set at 1,000 feet. It took a significant number of parcels out of any potential of having solar on them. So it would essentially be banning it, which we've argued some. No, it's not. But you can look at the planning commission.
They can always ask for a variance on the application, regardless of what setbacks are set at. They can be set at 5,000, 1,800. And they can always ask for a variance at BZA.
But then you also say if the adjacent property owner was in agreement, it could be less.
The way our ordinance is currently
So
written,
you've really got the,
if a adjacent property owner agrees to a lesser setback, yes, that, and that's non-participating landowners.
Right.
Yes.
but to me, that'd be kind of the best of both worlds, really. But that's my thought on it.
Propose that then?
Yes.
Okay. 650
Mhm.
and pasture land.
You guys get, or you would need a vote to send it back to the plan commission, so that instead of voting to either approve or disapprove the recommendation, you're voting to amend. And send it back to the plan commission.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we, due to the two amendments, we send this back to the planning commission for their review.
And we've picked some numbers that I'm not sure have any, I mean, we're going from a little under 1/10 of a mile to a little over 1/10 of a mile.
650 would be close to an 1/8 mile. I believe my math's right.
Yeah. They also went into very fine detail about the screening, from the way it will be adjacent housings and everything, the size of it?
Actually, the screening is a little unclear. It's 100 feet either direction from the dwelling. When it should really be the view shed from the dwelling. It should be, all of it should be. But it's like 100 feet from. It's kind of odd, actually.
You know where that's at?
It would be under screenings.
That's what I see evergreen trees. Is that what you're talking about?
It should be like above the top of that. It should say somewhere.
It's page 67. And that's 3/4 of the way down the page, there's I screening for non-participating parcels, subsection 2, parcels with an existing dwelling. Page 67. 3/4 of the way down the page.
I don't see anything about 100 feet.
It's toward the end of it, it says screening shall be required along the entire length of the dwelling structure, shall be extended 100 feet past the edge of the dwelling structure in both directions.
So what was your comment again?
My comment is it's a little unclear about what that would mean. A lot of the other UDOs you read, it says it will be cover the whole view shed from the dwelling. The 100 feet in either direction is little. I actually have not seen it in another UDO and I've read countless. I'm not sure where that even came from.
The plan commission, when we looked at the screening and view shed, we had difficulty as far as describing or defining an exact type of screening that would work for every single location. We do have a requirement, for example, if you have a 500 or 640 foot setback, whatever it is, the screening has to come up closer to that. It has to be within either 100 or 150 foot of the property line. I don't recall off the top of my head. So it would block the view up close. And we realize there could be differences on that. Each location is going to be very unique from non-participating, so forth. So in order to deal with that, what we did include is instead of it being evaluated as a whole, let's say there's 20 parcels that are involved in this. Each parcel going forward will be evaluated individually, all one public hearing, but individually by the plan commission. So they will look at each of those locations separately, and there will have to have been a development plan submitted that shows where they're proposing screening, distances and so forth. So we would have an opportunity at the BZA level when it comes to them, and they're considering those applications, to address those on an individual basis as to where they were needed. If they have the public hearing and the way the development plan is presented and a property owner feels that it doesn't screen their property enough, they would be able to raise those issues on the screening at that time. The BZA then would have the power, if it's a conditional use as part of this, we want the screening to be this instead of what you have on the development plan. Pat might be able to do a little better job of explaining that than I have.
No, I think you're doing a good job. I mean, it's there's a development plan. I mean, like, and as Warren points out, the prevailing rule is in subsection D that screening shall be provided along all property lines with commercial SES structures, excluding perimeter fencing, etc. And then D4 provides what the screening materials and specifications are. But yeah, as part of the development plan, there's a whole screening plan that has to be approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals.
But is the development plan approved after the application is already heard from the BCA.
No, there's a site layout plan. There's a little bit of difference in the language in the two, but to be certain that we could tie things down close to BZA, there has to be a detailed site layout plan and so forth that's provided at a time. Then we wanted to be certain that the BZA had enough before them that once they did approve an application, there would be something there to base it on as when construction actually started. Now, there's some details and things that aren't part of that initial plan that would come in as part of construction drawings and so forth, but there's quite a bit of information that's required in that initial one.
So is that defined in your ordinance here? if you
Yes,
want to add
yes,
this?
it is.
So can I get a point of clarification, please? You're reading the ordinance as it's submitted right here. And what you're talking about are amendments to this ordinance. So you would still go on with a second and third reading with what you have here and then amend it through the plan commission? Is that a separate process? You're not sending this back? I mean, are we packaging this back and sending it back, or is this continuing on?
You would be sending it back to the plan commission before would they potentially come back to you for final review.
So you're not voting on this? Okay.
Well, you're voting on the.
Whether
could be
whether
voting
to
on sending it.
rescind it or
Send it
not.
back to-
So if somebody isn't here today and they wanted to speak on this at the next reading, then they could, and that could be added into your amendments when it goes back as well, then, if they vote on.
Well, if we send it back tonight, we won't have a second or a third reading on it because it'll go back to the plan commission. They will have to hold their public hearings on the proposed amendments. Then it will come back to the commissioners and then we'll go through the first, second and third reading of the
I
ordinance.
wouldn't think we have to, would we?
Well, I mean, you're not required to do for second and third readings if you vote unanimously
Only doing
to.
One or two changes, right?
And it's up to you. You can vote unanimously to pass it at the meeting where it's introduced. As long as you're unanimous on the decision to vote and either to pass it or not. So essentially, if you're gonna skip, 2 or 3 readings, you would have to have one vote. And that vote has to be unanimous that you're going to only have one reading, and then you can go ahead and have a final vote.
Let me make one suggestion, and the only thing that you may want to consider, it's been my understanding, normally there's a first reading, and if there's big confusion, because city does things different, county does things certain ways, and many times public comment is not allowed at the first reading. They just read the ordinance, and I don't know how the commissioners normally have done theirs. But I do know that there's people that want to comment on this that may not have been here this evening because they didn't think they'd be allowed to comment. I would like to, at least if we're going through this process, see that everyone that has an opportunity to comment before the commissioners, to where you make any amendments that you're wanting the plan commission to make after you hear from everyone. So it only comes back to us one more time. I don't want to deal with the 640 and deal with the pasture language. And then when it comes back to you again, you didn't have an opportunity that everyone heard from you, and you've added additional things to come back to us. So in order to get it passed, you may want to decide this evening how much public comment you're going to hear, if you're going to hear that at the next meeting. And then at your next one, you can decide to have your vote on your amendments or any new amendments or so forth that you would add. And then we would take it back to the plan commission. Because when we bring back to the plan commission, all we'll be discussing and holding public hearing on are the amendments that you recommend, nothing else.
So we talked about letting people provide comments on the 2 changes, the 2 in blue, right? We want to include the others that we're considering for the amendments as well?
Like you said,
Well, yeah, I've let people have the opportunity to make comments on them now. So when it does come back to us, we don't go back in the continuous
yeah.
loop of.
So like Warren was saying, because there's some people who didn't think they would get to speak tonight, so they didn't come. Are you gonna do the public comment this time and next time, or just wait till next time? And be able to gather all of the possible amendments at one time?
Yeah, I mean, effectively, that would be tabling for the next meeting.
So do we let people speak now, or do we just?
That's your call.
It's like, oh,
If you don't have the luxury at the planning commission level, statute spells that out, that we have a public hearing on it and so forth, but I don't know that under statute that commissioners are even
Oh,
required
no.
to, they're, you know, they don't have a public hearing on it.
Correct.
You wouldn't have to allow any comment as such, but it's generally been your practices that commissioners allow public comment on issues or
I
Right,
thought,
yeah, no, there's no legal requirement. to
I
have
thought
public comment.
this was the whole reason we're considering this like the first reading again, because it wasn't on the website and people weren't updated, which they knew that they were gonna be this meeting, right?
That is correct. You had a meeting that you intended to have as a first reading at the last meeting. You then tabled first reading essentially to this meeting on the basis of the concern as to whether or not the full ordinance was on the
Right.
website. And so today you had set as a first reading again. And you're not required to take public comment. on
But
it.
you said you would accept public comment at the last. This.
For this one.
Right,
he's saying we're not required to, but
Right.
we said we wanted to, so that, and that's fine. I mean, he's just saying we're. The state's
answering the
not.
legal. I'm answering the legal question, not the public.
So you guys also agreed that you were gonna do 3 readings, so if this is the first one, you take public comment at the next one, that would be the second one, and then you make your decision at the third one. Because it was agreed that the last meeting that you would do 3 readings and this would be the first.
You know, that's not a bad idea. I mean, the council says you finish your first reading, hold a second reading, and then, you know, do your third, take your comments, send it back to the planning commission with any amendments, and then, you know, that way. The planning commission can consider any amendments, and then when it comes back to you, you have the decision of whether you're gonna put it through 3 readings or whether you're going to, you know, unanimously decide to move forward.
the planning commission will be holding, we'll have to give the 10 days notice and hold a public hearing on the 2 amendments or 3 amendments or whatever it would be.
But with this being such a large thing and involving so many people in the counties, everybody will know to be here for this one if they have something that they wanna share. And give you guys time to think about it before you come back for the third.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend you do 3 readings twice, but that's up to you. But again, you can unanimously
Technically,
decide.
we could pass or deny at the next meeting. We do the second reading and then forego the third, like we've
could.
done on.
Yeah. Yep, sounds like you're doing a reading, Ron.
On what? Ordinance number 2025-6, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance in Jefferson County. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Jefferson County is advised that the Jefferson County Plan Commission has held a public hearing following the giving of required notice on an amendment to the zoning ordinance, and whereas said commission has given a favorable recommendation for the amendment to the zoning ordinance, and whereas this board concurs in recommendation of said commission, now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners of Jefferson County, State of Indiana, that the Jefferson County zoning ordinance shall be amended to with attachment commercial solar energy system zoning amendment. Passed and so forth, and then resolution recommending amendment to zoning ordinance, whereas notice was given in accordance with Indiana Code Section 5-3-1, 36-7-4500, and 36-7-4-600 sequence, the Plan Commission of Jefferson County, Indiana would conduct a public hearing on a proposal to recommend an amendment to the zoning ordinance of Jefferson County, Indiana. Whereas the public hearing was held on June 10th, 2025 and July 1st, 2025, following the giving of required notice with opportunity for all interested persons to offer evidence and present their views to this commission. And whereas the Plan Commission heard evidence concerning the proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance and approves of the same. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Plan Commission of the County of Jefferson, State of Indiana, that the following be forwarded to the Board of Commissioners of Jefferson County with a favorable recommendation to amend the zoning ordinance of Jefferson County, Indiana to wit, attachment commercial solar energy system zoning amendment. First reading. And now we have to vote on the amendment.
No.
No,
No,
okay,
First reading.
okay.
That sounds like we're excited.
Yeah,
One other issue that it's up to commissioners as well. You have two resolutions. One deals with also the barrel house ordinance as such. And there were not any changes with your first reading and so forth. So I don't know if you want to take action on that ordinance by itself this evening to get it in place. On the solar side of it, we have the moratorium in place so that we aren't accepting new applications. But currently, we don't have any type of moratorium. If someone would bring a barrel house application in tomorrow, we would have to be accepting it under our old ordinances, not our current. So there's a little bit more of a time concern on moving that one on through, and there doesn't seem to be any, I don't know if the public has any comments on it, but there hasn't been any brought up to my knowledge.
Second reading.
You've already done the second reading, yeah, so, and certainly could move forward on a vote on the barrel house ordinance, and they've been submitted as separate ordinances, as separate amendments to the.
so we could, do we just vote?
Yeah.
To forego the third reading, right?
Yeah, I mean, technically the statute only requires 2 readings, and so like it's more of a local policy as to whether you do 3 or
Sure.
not, so I mean, Indiana code only requires, 2 readings, and then you can unanimously decide to do 1, so yes, you could vote to proceed.
Okay, so we don't necessarily have to.
No, you don't have to, but you can.
I just thought. So we can make a motion now to approve this ordinance and then,
Yes,
okay,
Make a motion to skip the third reading, right?
sure.
I think
You don't
that's
have
the way
to,
we
but
go.
you can.
And then
yeah, he's saying we don't need,
You don't need to do it.
fine with that.
so we could, so. I'm gonna make a motion to approve ordinance number 2025-05. An ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of Jefferson County for the attachment of winery, brewery, distillery, and barrel house warehouse amendments.
I second that motion.
Any other discussion? If not, those in favor say aye.
There.
Motion carried. Oh, one little hurdle.
Do we wanna let people speak on the solar, since we said so, or do we want?
Sure. Right?
Well, on the 2 changes, right?
On the changes.
Only on the changes.
The 4,000 acre and the MSDS.
Yeah.
So, any comment? Public comment?
Can be this.
What's about?
Are you asking for comments on Jefferson two?
Yes.
Just to change the shit.
They're not those do any of the changes. Right, any of the changes, not just pastures or. So you can talk about any of the changes that they put in.
The ordinance as a whole, we can discuss with you
No.
that's proposed.
Just,
I think there's confusion
just the
about,
amendments.
meaning the amended ordinance that's in front of you, as
Right.
opposed to the 2 amendments that you suggested during the meeting today, I mean, so. The 2 amendments, you talked about the pasture land and the setbacks today as potential future amendments, those, that's not on the table today. When you say amendments, you
MSD
mean
and-
what's in front of you, right? The highlighted sections that have been put up on the website.
Yeah. Just highlight.
The blue ones.
Right.
So, I guess, if, I could wait till the next time, but if you want to get me out of the way and then other people can talk the next time. I wrote this right before I came in, so I apologize. Misspoken, but, the commissioners now have a valuable opportunity to refer this current draft back to the planning commission with recommendations that prioritize the well-being and interest of all of the Jefferson County residents. Given the significant division that this issue has caused within our community, I respectfully urge you guys to use your elected positions to protect the integrity and the long-term vision of the county as it is laid out in the comprehensive plan. I request the following changes be sent back to the CP for reevaluation to increase the proposed setbacks from 500 feet to 1,000, providing greater protection from adjoining property owners who are not committed to the solar. Implementing a property value guarantee to safeguard the interest of neighboring landowners who are not participants in solar. Many counties across the state have implemented this into their UDOs. And or thirdly, we could just go back to taking industrial scale solar out of ag land completely and putting it back into industrial. All right. That's all that I had. Thank you guys for letting me speak, and I appreciate your time.
I'm in the middle of the music. I'm sorry.
Okay. Any other comment?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have a real problem with 4,000 acres. I came to every meeting through the winter and the plan commission talking about 400 acres. Well, then you had the meeting downtown and my husband was in the emergency room and I missed that meeting. And another 0 was added, so now it's 4,000 acres. Where all winter long, on all those meetings, it was 400 acres that were talked about, not 4,000, and I think that that's a huge leap. And there needs to be an amendment to lower that. Because we're talking about fine farm ground, we're talking about people that have to live next to this. We're talking about raising the temperature around the homes that are there. And, you know, everybody says that you have the right to do what you want with your property. You do to a degree, but you don't when it harms other people and their way of life. And what they think is important in their lives. And it's also a disgrace to do that to our wildlife, to cut our trees, to cut all the greenery and put us in the middle of a silver nothing. It's an outdated and it's a travesty to do that to our land. We have a very beautiful place here. And we would like to keep it that way and not have greed come in and take it away.
Well, the USDA new policy this week will no longer allow businesses to use our taxpayer dollars to fund solar projects on prime American farmland. And they will no longer allow solar panels manufactured by foreign adversaries, which is like 90% in China right now, to be used on our USDA funded projects. And Indiana Senate Bill 1 eliminated the 30% floor for assets placed in service after January 1st of this year. And that allows businesses to fully depreciate equipment for property tax purposes. It also means that the property tax benefits toted by solar developers to fund our schools and community will also be reduced to 0. And so if we look at
at our zoning, at our comprehensive plan, zoning is, the solar does not fit within our comprehensive plan. And so it really needs to be in industrial. It is an industrial use. And all the stuff that we're going through in order to adapt agricultural land should be saved for agricultural purposes. Solar, industrial, commercial, industrial solar is not an agricultural purpose. So please consider restricting it to the industrial zones there. And the property value guarantee, if you don't do that, guarantee gives some type of assurance to the people that have to live with this surrounding them, that they would have some type of guarantee that they wouldn't be destroyed through the valuation of that. Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Chelsea Stanley. I'm legal counsel for Southern Jefferson County landowners interested in leases for solar development in Jefferson County. I've submitted written comments for your consideration, so I'm gonna keep my comments here as brief as I can. I'd like to start by saying we appreciate the work of the technical committee and the plan commission in responding to stakeholder concerns. The proposal currently before you reflects important progress and a willingness to engage constructively. That said, we do believe several key issues remain that if unaddressed would severely limit and in certain instances eliminate the viability of solar projects in this county. And importantly, infringe on the rights of landowners to utilize their property for this purpose. I want to talk about 3 areas of our greatest concern. First, the decommissioning requirements. I want to be very clear, we support having a clear and robust decommissioning plan. However, the current language is overly burdensome and shifts unreasonable risks to the landowners. The requirement that landowners be personally liable for all aspects of decommissioning, even though the county would be holding the financial assurance bonds, it's fundamentally flawed. So the county is the obligee on the bonds, has control over enforcing bond terms and hiring vendors in the unlikely event that they are needed. There's no legal or practical reason to simultaneously impose financial liability and daily civil penalties on the landowners. These provisions should be evaluated if you're gonna send it back down to the Plan Commission to align with common sense practices across the country. In particular, we do take issue with the excessive soil sampling and restoration requirements. We think they set a regulatory trap that most individuals will not and cannot accept. The standards go far beyond what's necessary to ensure responsible land restoration. Instead, they introduce uncertainty, unbounded cost exposure, and risk that would effectively preclude solar development in Jefferson County in violation of Indiana law. So in certain restoration requirements are wholly arbitrary. What we have a particular issue with is the proposal's requirement to essentially replicate pre-construction soil conditions within tight margins, including specific nutrients, and I can show you where it is in there if you haven't already seen it. So the example would be, let's just, and I'm using easy numbers, an optimal range for a nutrient for crop would be 150 to 200 parts per million. If the pre-construction soil test showed the nutrient level at 50, then the proposal would require restoration to within that band of that level. Even if after decommissioning, the soil tested at 175, which would be well within the optimal level. So as it's written, it would harm productivity. In this case, I don't think that's what was intended. The language already says that it will be required to go back to similar productivity. There's no need to introduce them in tight bands. Second, we've talked about the setbacks already. They're already over twofold what the default standard is in the Indiana code if you were to use that. These distances are arbitrary and unsupported by objective rationale, even at 500, and it's suggesting that they go up even more. The third area would be screening. If you're talking about making the setback even farther, this is making the issue worse. We're already creating dead space. Can't use it for solar or agriculture or anything else because there's a strip in between the screening and the setback that is basically useless, and now the dead space has just gotten bigger if you're gonna amend that the setback be even farther. So we wanna step back and ask the commissioners to remember a couple of things. My clients aren't outsiders. They are also Jefferson County residents, farmers, and land stewards. They're interested in diversifying their land use to benefit from clean energy opportunities. That is their right. And I've presented in attachments in my written materials that shows that it can actually help adjacent landowners with their crop production. I also presented in the materials. You can say it, I presented federal and state printouts from our legislature and federal legislatures that have said these are safe. So to just say that these are unsafe without any background, I've given you all materials as to those. They've affirmed soil development is safe for soil, water, and surrounding properties. Indiana law is clear, whether, certain individuals appreciate that or don't. It encourages solar development, and prohibits ordinances that unreasonably restrict its use. So I would respectively ask the commissioners if you're gonna send it back down, to recommend these revisions as well.
Is this the only time we can speak? You're not gonna allow us to speak in any other meetings? Because I did not come prepared at all, because I didn't do it on speak. Because I don't like to speak, but we before we speak.
It's up to you.
I have a couple comments. We keep talking about this dead space if we increase the setbacks, but what I don't understand is truthfully with the smaller setback, you're making it less likely for them to keep farming that area or using what it is used for right now. Behind my house, I have 100 feet that somebody rents to grow soybeans. So if you increase that, you're keeping more land in production versus making it dead space. 1,000 feet would give plenty of, and actually it would help with their screenings because then they could grow corn and half part of the year it would screen off the panels. So I don't quite understand where that, if you increase the setback, or you should think about that increases dead space. What I think that increases is keeping more land in production.
And protecting non-participating landowners.
Exactly, and as well at the same time protecting non-participating landowners. I also wanted to mention that I'm not sure which the Jefferson County concerned citizens brought up to the planning commission was the property value guarantee, which a couple other people have touched on. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with what that is, but that is basically protecting non-participating properties. That if solar moves in, then they're protected if their property value decreases. Lots of videos that are cutting off moratoriums are including these in their new UDOs to help protect the non-participating.
St. Joe County just passed it this week.
Exactly, I have a list actually. Delaware, St. Joseph has it, several do around the state. And solar says that the solar company is saying that it won't affect property value. Well, if it's not gonna affect property value, why not put it in the UDO? It's not gonna hurt, it's not gonna hinder solar, it's not gonna, if they say it's not gonna affect it, then they shouldn't have a problem with it. It shouldn't hinder anything, but it will protect your constituents, the non-participating landowners that will be affected by just having it around their properties.
And I know there are probably a lot of other people that we want to speak to that are here. Because I thought we couldn't speak.
Why would you think that? When we said last meeting, you'd be allowed to speak at this meeting?
I mean, I just misunderstood you. I thought we were gonna speak.
I was said usually at the first reading that people don't speak, so then this is technically the first one.
Yeah, but it wasn't, right? I mean,
But
you
it-
guys,
but it
no,
wasn't
no,
clear that it
we specifically said last meeting, we would let you make comments this meeting. Correct?
I don't
Yes, we
know, I
did.
remember you
Yes,
saying
we
it was
did.
gonna go back to the first.
So,
We did.
It was also on the Facebook local gossip, the opposition also put on there that you were allowed to speak.
I don't participate in those.
Well, we never know when we're gonna be able to speak, so we ask people to show up and to ask to speak. So thank you for accepting public comment.
We've always done that.
You got, well, and we appreciate that. So this isn't to call you out, but to clarify. When can we speak and when can we get our
I
concerns?
mean, that was the whole reason for tonight, so everybody could talk, to make it as transparent as possible. That was my understanding when I left.
That's what we talked.
Yeah, that's why we kind of scrubbed the first reading. This was the first reading. People were allowed to have public comment. I don't know what else you can do. But technically, we didn't have to do anything.
Well, technically,
Right.
technically you don't, but yet you're an elected official, so I would hope that you were serving the
Well,
people.
that's why you were allowed.
And that's why we're here interacting with you respectfully, with Ms. Remote. I do have a printout from the USDA on the president and USDA secretary.
You know, those things are fine, but it's not like we've gone out and enticed solar to come to Jefferson County.
No.
None of us have gone out to a solar company and said, hey, would you like to come to Jefferson County? None of us have.
None of
So-
us.
So telling us that, what would you have us do with that information?
Restrict it to industrial zones. Because our own president's telling you, it does not belong on agricultural land. Our own government is telling us, you should have heard this, you're here with us, you see that. I'm not saying that other people that want to put solar there that don't. I understand why they want to do that. I can't sit here and argue with that. But it affects everybody else around here. It takes out prime agricultural real estate from food production.
So
And
as,
it's not-
so as,
Not as renewable as we've been told.
so have you read the prime farmland definition? I said I wasn't gonna go here, but I'm gonna go here. Have you read it? Have you read what's included in it? You have?
There's classifications. There are 4 separate classifications.
What's that definition from, Dave?
So the USDA. So it says the prime farmland is defined by the USDA is the land that has best combination of physical and chemical characteristics of producing food, feed, forage, fiber, and oilseed crops, and is available for these uses. It can be cultivated land, pasture land, forest land, or other land, but it is not urban or built-up land or water areas. The soil quality, growing season, and moisture supply are those needed for the soil to economically produce sustained high yield of crops when proper management, including water management and acceptable farming methods are applied. In general, prime farmland has an adequate and dependable supply of moisture from precipitation or irrigation, a favorable temperature and growing season, acceptable acidity and alkalinity, and acceptable salt and sodium content, and few or no rocks. The water supply is dependable and of adequate quality. Prime farmland is permeable to water and air. It is not excessively erodible and saturated with water for long periods of time. It is either not frequently flooded during the growing season or is protected from flooding. Slope ranges between 0 to 6%. More detailed information is available in the local office of the Natural Resource Conservation Guide. Saluda, how wet is Saluda? I hate to bring that up.
And there are some people that were unable to be here tonight who will have this debate with you.
But I'm just saying, I mean, no, I'm not finished yet. I'm not.
We're talking about.
But
Well,
anyways, that's what he's telling you. You guys keep talking about our prime farmland. Come out and look. They have been living on insurance claims on our prime farmland in Saluda for years.
So, no,
What this week?
huh?
Jefferson County is prime.
It's prime. You get into your soil classifications. We do meet that description right there.
But every time the prime farmland description was discussed or definition, the last part was left out. It is, so, I'm just saying, let's speak the truth and stop just saying what makes sense to me. So, that was the only thing I was bringing up, all right? We never got to that last part. You know, we talk about prime farmland, but we conveniently forget the last part. Where the water table in Saluda and the ground level are almost identical at times.
So that's gonna make it what, good for putting solar in there?
Well, it's as being a requirement not to put solar there because it's prime farmland.
It is, you give us a chance.
I am not a farmer who has 1,000 acres, but I do live in Saluda. My parents live there. If this goes in, it will be right next to their property, right next to a piece of property that they have worked on for the last 40 years. Everybody has high stakes in this. It may not be your backyard today, but it could be your backyard or somebody else's tomorrow. So when we're asking you for these setbacks, it is because right now it is in our backyard and it could easily be you. So we're asking you, not on the farm side, as just a resident, my statements come from, I have to live next to this potentially. And how close is it gonna be? And are my property values gonna go down? And is it gonna be something I am gonna hear, see, and have to live with every single day?
I'm gonna speak off the cuff and I don't like doing this, but I'm gonna do it because this may be my only chance. I was raised in Saluda. I went to Purdue. I'm not an ag major, but from what I understand, crops land is divided in categories and graded by classes at 1 through 8. And they've gone through for the land that is categorized the best, 1 through 4. That being said, I feel that this property that they're taking from Jefferson County is going to house and take care of that meta center. It's going to send electricity. We're not even going to reap the benefits of this electricity. It is going to Clark County, and now Clark County rejected it last night. So how are they going to get the electricity from here to there when it's not going through Clark County? I think, and this is all funded by China, they're trying to kill us. And to be honest with you, that's my feelings. They're trying to take away our farmland so we can't feed ourselves. They're trying to destroy us, and we're falling into the money trap. Money can't buy everything.
And the tax credits are going bye-bye.
And
We talk about
the saddest part.
We don't wanna cause
The
divide.
saddest part.
Stop calling us greedy. I wanna keep it for my children,
The
Rhonda.
saddest part about this is it's only going to employ 2 people remotely. They're not even going to live in Jefferson County and pay taxes. To me, this is not rocket science. I cannot believe we're sitting here debating this when somebody is really just coming and trying to take our land from us.
They aren't taking anything.
Amanda, I love you to pieces.
Rhonda, I love you to pieces, and my grandpa farmed that land until the day he died.
But Amanda, you know what? You've given your land away. It won't be yours.
I have not gave my land to anybody, but you can shake your head. It is a lease.
Commissioners,
Chelsea is not my only
free to have
lawyer.
public
I
comment,
was
but I would recommend that you
now for
restrict public
certain
comments to one person at a
I'm
time.
not
Yeah.
just stating, to me, this is like, I can't believe we would give up jobs for Jefferson County for people that run fertilizer, the plowing, the people that supply the glass and gas, the tractors, the farmers, the seed companies, all that. I can't believe we are gonna give all that up to employ 2 people remotely that aren't even gonna live here. And the electricity isn't even gonna benefit our county. This just so does not make sense to me. Fort Wayne just rejected it, and it's one of the top cities in the nation. It ranks in the top 10, and they just rejected solar. They said, no. We need to follow leaders. We need to follow people that have done their research and doing what's right for the people in our town. I'm trying to be a farmer. I've had my first garden this year, and it's hard work. Those people work their tails off. I'm just speaking off the cuff and from my heart, and I just don't get it. I just can't believe we would give up thousands of acres that will be non-usable forever. I do not want that sitting in my front yard, and it could easily happen. I don't want to look at that. Our county is beautiful. It's got so much history. I mean, I went to Marble Hill as a kid and hiked it. It was beautiful. It was a hill of marble. My family relatives owned the bottom. And I mean, it was beautiful. And it got dynamited out and destroyed, and it's useless. It just breaks my heart to see all this land, and we're letting these people come in and do it, and China is behind it. China is behind this whole project. It's not American people. It is not Americans that are doing this. I don't know. This is so from my heart and so off the cuff. But that's my heart and that's how I feel. And I hope and pray you will move this to 1,000-foot setback, and if they can't come, they can't come. But protect the land that we do have. This is a historical city. We were the gateway. Madison was the gateway to the west, believe it or not, back when it was being settled. And we're going to destroy this. It's going to be totally, totally destroyed. And people will not want to come here. We've gone to Fort Wayne and gone every which way but loose to get there. And there are these fields that are solar. It is so sad. And all these people now are questioning, why in the world did we do this? It's so sad. I just, please, 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 look deep into your hearts and do what's best for this town. That's my story.
That's big.
We've not stopped. No, I'm just kidding.
Would be nice just to have one at a time.
Yeah. Thank you.
So much.
Well, as you know, I've attended a lot of these meetings, just like all of you were wore out. You guys are wore out. I commend you for all of your heartfelt thoughts, the time you spent, all the abuse you've taken and everything else. And I'm like, you know, I'm not prepared. I feel like maybe this is the only opportunity when I have to speak. Have any of you ever drove by a commercial solar field and not been able to see it?
Well, if you talk about those that are on the highways, there's no screening requirements for those.
Well, I mean, some of the ones that you have seen where there was an attempt to screen it.
No, I've not driven past one that's been screened. If I didn't, I didn't see it.
So I mean, I've seen it.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'll get there.
I mean, you still see them,
Well,
is my point. I mean, I've seen them even where they tried to plant evergreen trees. I mean, maybe by the time it's ready to be decommissioned, the trees might be big enough that it's blocking a lot of it. You know, there's been countless hours spent by our wonderful planning commission and the technical committee and all the definitions about screenings and I mean, for what? When it comes right down to it. We're going to see it. I mean, if it was around you like it, and this has been a division thing, you know, among our community and our families. I mean, I'm right in the middle of a big family situation. We love each other dearly. But I'll have solar as is proposed on all four sides. And I won't be able to go to town. I won't be able to go to Chelsea store. I won't be able to go to the dollar store. I won't be able to go anywhere without having to look at it. Are we against clean energy? No. One of the very first conversations I had with one of you all way back when this first became an issue was why can't they go down there to industrial areas and put up on top of those buildings? Well, now look at what has happened here in the last 9 months to a year. Look how much we've been hearing about the rooftop solars now on industrial parks that are happening. There's a place for it. And at the same time, look, like has been mentioned, look at all the other places around that are starting to realize this is not the way to go. You know, there's not a day goes by that I don't have pop-ups on my phone about new wind turbine designs, new solar materials, outdating the old solar panels. And I mean, are we going to sit here in this county and agree to what the proposed applications go ahead and go through with stuff that is going to be outdated before it even gets into operation or before its lifespan is even up. And we all have to look at it. I mean, I just beg you and plead. It's not above the realm of impossibility just to remove solar, industrial solar, commercial solar, whatever you want to call it, from our agricultural areas around here, out of the ordinance altogether. Just remove it. Eliminate all this. So thank you so much.
I just have one quick question. Since we're under current moratorium and it's coming up on us, the year date that was set, will it extend, since it sounds like this is gonna be a lengthier process than the remaining time on the current moratorium? And I'm sure I'm pretty sure through the state we can extend our moratorium, but we can't come out of it and go into a new one.
I mean, you can extend the moratorium. I mean,
Just, just extend it until we get the updated UDO passed. That way no applications can slide in under the old UDO.
We need to figure out what the exact date when the moratorium was in. I thought it was towards the third.
Or somewhere.
First of September.
it's in September.
First of September sometime.
That was the meeting.
The 19th. So it was the 19th of September, according to our Commissioner Historian here. It was the 19th. So.
Could I make one more request on battery energy storage systems, which are incorporated within the solar ordinance itself? It needs to have its own ordinance. It's its own monster. It's its own issues. And it deserves to have its own ordinance, safety, fire. It's developing too, so we want to be protected from that also.
Can I say one thing? Our county denied solar, and I know they did it for a reason. I just pray you can do the same.
But they let a Canadian solar company come in who was offering jobs as long as you were bilingual in Mandarin. Go figure that out.
They did not deny solar, they denied Brightside.
Sure, but I'm just saying, they brought in the manufacturing of it, but I did notice in the job description.
They did last year, pass their setbacks at 650.
Well,
And that's they're our neighbors.
we need solar. And we need to find a way to get solar so that we can get it on businesses and homes, because electricity is going up. With all these data centers, they're trying to put one in Trimble County now, and with all these data centers, they're bringing in solar just so they can say that they're green. It's not gonna do that much, and we get nothing from it. But we need solar for our homes and our businesses, not for industrial. We need to have a way, and they just recently had a thing on NPR about it. And so that it cuts the red tape and people can get solar at a reasonable price and start it for their homes, because, people in this room, oh, I'm sure we're all gonna be fine. But people on the edge are not gonna be fine. They're not gonna be cooled and they're not gonna be heated. They're gonna be without the bare necessities that they need. And there is a place for solar, but it's not industrial solar taking up our beautiful land and moving our wildlife away out of fences, whatever. We need to be future thinking and move ahead, not be marred down in old technology.
And we don't even address data centers in our ordinance, and that's the next.
Even nuclear, but that's not even close.
Or nuclear, any type of.
That's what we're talking.
Extend the moratorium until we get.
So.
I think we need to look at our schedules and then we can talk about it the next meeting. Rather than try to do it on the fly.
I do wanna say, we looked at putting solar on our house 2 years ago, and it was gonna cost us $45,000. Cause I do love solar, I think it may have its place, but I can't, my pocketbook doesn't have it.
Well, this is very passionate discussion, but we need to move on yes, thank you all. But we need to move on to the other folks who have some things to bring up too. I believe that we need to move on to Bobby. You have your,
You guys are a hard act to follow. I don't know if I even try now. But you know me, I don't back down.
yeah,
I requested to be here last meeting and I understood everything was busy. But I did get it out there so we at least knew that there was a meeting at DuPont. It was very well attended last night. We had 52 that signed in. There was closer to 60 or 70 there. You know, there's some that just won't put their name on anything, and I don't blame them. That's neither here nor there. Basically, things that were discussed were some of the purposes of the building, some of the things that DuPont, the Lancaster Township could look into as far as something that would be feasible, something that would be an asset to the community. It's been basically empty for the last 20 years. They have kept it up. Luckily, with your all's help, they did get that gym roof replaced very shortly after you guys gave them the money. They had some matching money to get that finished up. Well, we had a survey that was out there. I'll just pass along the survey. You guys, you're welcome to pass it out as well. They've got a Facebook page set up for any public comments as well. There will be a next meeting that'll be coming up that will disclose the information that's gathered from the surveys. So we can kind of discuss some of those and eliminate some of those as they come up. You guys are welcome to attend. We'll get those dates out to you as soon as we can. Right now, we're looking at September the 9th and the 10th. Were the dates that the DuPont Fire Department was going to be available. So if that holds true, those will be the two upcoming dates. And Lancaster Township, thanks you guys for your support in the DuPont school. Bob was there to cover things, so I probably left a whole lot out. Hopefully he'll print some really good things in the paper and cover everything that I missed so that I can convene this fairly quickly and keep things moving right along, help you guys get back on time. I'll make it to a ball game here a little bit. Luckily, it's a late game, so I'm not late yet. Thank you, guys.
you put solar on the roof.
That has not been discussed, and the way this is going, I'm not gonna be the one to bring it up. How's that sound?
Where the spirit is.
Good try.
Thank you, Bobby.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. I like what you're all trying to do with it out there too. Losing too many of those things.
There's a lot of them would love to see it stay at school. Or come back to be a school. And there was a lot of other really good discussions, there's a lot of really good ideas on about page 2 of that survey as well. Yeah, we're on through that.
Not very many gyms like that left around.
No, it's still a great city.
Oh, yeah. All right. Unfavorable recommendations on zoning map change. Baker.
Yeah, you should have that.
Do we have a ordinance, or do we just agree with the resolution?
Ordinance.
Oh, it's inside on the back.
I can give you the ordinance.
Yeah, I think because you said it was unfavorable, but if you needed to create an ordinance,
Right,
you would.
yes, it's unfavorable. So the only reason you would need an ordinance is if you were going to go ahead and change the zoning.
Okay.
So the plan commission held a public hearing on a petition, an application for rezoning. The plan commission determines that it was not an appropriate rezoning from agricultural to
General business.
For a couple of reasons. Number one, the property owner, I think, intended to live on the property as well as run a business on the property, which he wouldn't be able to do even under a general business. And in addition to that, I think the biggest concern was that it was going to be spot zoning. It was going to be a sort of just a postage stamp of general business amongst a lot of other ag. And frankly, the property owner, after hearing from the plan commission's concerns seemed to actually sort of understand the plan commission's position. So the plan commission passes it on to you with an unfavorable recommendation for a zoning map change. And so it's up to you whether or not you want to proceed with a zoning map change or not in the face of the unfavorable recommendation.
We're just gonna make a motion to agree with the plan commission's recommendation of an unfavorable change of the zoning map for 2 acres of property located on 7743 West New Bethel Road. To it's agriculture on it. The request was to change it to general business.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
No, the resolution was actually from the planning commission, so it's not your resolution, it's just a vote on whether or not it's basically.
Agree with
the
it.
planning commission.
And the departments, are we still got some? Are they still, any of them still here?
Might be.
Did they,
I'm here.
they go, you got something?
No.
Okay.
Like, I'm here. But
Just hanging around. Well. Jason did have some, but he needed to get the kids picked up too.
He may get Jason leave.
No, we're good.
We're good, huh? Wow.
Jason's here, but he said he'll just
Yeah, he's got time.
hold off.
He's got to go, yeah. Okay. So. I think we've heard from the public,
Mhm.
so. I don't think there's. Anything from.
I don't have anything.
Bobby?
No.
We're meeting with the juvenile facilities. Yeah, Saturday, see what we can do with our. New part of our old jail.
Did the wetland delineation study come in yet?
Yeah, they finished it up, I believe, last week.
Will that be presented like?
I haven't got a printout of it
You
yet.
haven't
so-
seen it?
No,
You don't,
but they,
you don't know nothing?
well, I had them do the whole acreage, not just parcels, so.
There he is.
That way. The alienation was completed last week or week before.
I haven't received the report yet.
Okay.
I did finally find an AutoCAD file and I sent to her. But I haven't received anything back yet,
Okay.
so I'll get hold of her. See if we can get that.
Okay. Guess what?
Motion to adjourn, Jim.
Second that.